Welcome to the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I'm Tami, fibromyalgia coach, author, and founder of the International Fibromyalgia Coaching Institute. The goal of this podcast is to empower you with access to the dream team of experts and coaches I've discovered are key to living the fibro life you love. From the comfort of your own home, and maybe even your pajamas, I'll help you take back control of your life and health. To help out with fibro fog, I always include full show notes and additional resources at fibromyalgiapodcast.com. Welcome to the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I'm your coach, Tami, and this is episode 73. In today's episode, I want to talk to you about what I do when everything goes wrong. Sometimes everything is not okay, and it's okay to not be okay. Now, this episode is being recorded 2 weeks before it comes out. And in the last, 3 weeks, but especially the last 7 days, I can't even tell you how much stress I've been under. You guys have heard me talk about my cat, Sam. And if you've read my books or followed me on Facebook, you know I talk about the belly of happiness and joy, which is his belly. He loves having belly rubs. Well, my poor Sam has been having issues. In the last week, we've gone to the ER and had no sleep that night. And last night, he had a Holter monitor, watching his heart all night. That was also very stressful. No sleep for me because he kept trying to get out of it. So I had to keep an eye on him all night. Anyway, sometimes things like that happen in life. We can't control everything. Of course, we try to, right? Because the more we have control over our environment, our stress levels, everything that happens to us, the more we have control over our fibromyalgia symptoms. But life isn't always like that. And I know a lot of you listen to my podcast because my focus is very much on the positive, on, things go wrong, but what can we do to fix it? And so this is going to be a little bit of a different episode. Of course, I am still me. And so my brain always is thinking about, okay, what can I do to make this better? What can I do to fix this? How can I improve my situation? So I'm going to talk to you about that. But if you're someone who listens to this podcast and thinks that's all great for you, but my life isn't like that, this episode should give you a little bit of insight. One of the things that I think sometimes is wrong in the coaching industry in general, this isn't just health coaches or isn't just fibromyalgia, but the coaching industry in general. We are often so focused on being positive, thinking positive, eliminating negativity from our lives. And you probably have been on the receiving end of this where you have maybe been one of those negative things, right? Your fibromyalgia sometimes isn't cooperative, right? So sometimes when somebody asks you how you're doing, you might say, I hurt, right? Or I'm exhausted, because that's your reality. But sometimes in this ultra positive framework that a lot of us find ourselves in, that can be considered negative, right? So we have to walk this fine line between the reality of our situation, which may be pain, fatigue, crazy stress over a cat, and also on the other side of things, being positive and what can I do to make my situation better? So, you know me, I like to share my real life and how I personally manage this. This is the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I am a fibromyalgia coach, and my career is helping people like you manage their fibromyalgia. And so I think a lot of times, especially with the last 3 or 4 episodes we've done, talking about what does Tami do with my fibromyalgia in remission? How do I handle things when everything goes wrong? So here we go. As I mentioned, we have had in the last 2 weeks, I have had 2 nights with no sleep. One night taking Sam to the ER. I did get sleep, but I went to bed at like 6 in the morning and slept till like noon or something like that. Fortunately, it was a Tuesday night into Wednesday, and Wednesday is my self-care day. So it was as if I had that day planned just for that. This last time, the Holter monitor went on Sunday and came off on Monday. But this week is my admin week, so I don't teach class this week and don't have as many client appointments. So again, I had zero sleep. I actually got up Sunday morning and went to bed Monday night. That was okay because I didn't have any clients. I did have to reschedule one. So shout out to you. You know who you are. Thank you for that. But what I do when everything goes wrong is I pare back to the essentials. Now, a lot of times the confusion comes in what is essential, right? So for me, my number one priority is me. Or in this case, with Sam having an issue, my priority was him, right? Staying up with him, making sure he's okay, and I can sleep later. But for the most part, I am my first priority because if I don't take care of me, I can't do things like that, taking care of him. So because I have been so good at getting my sleep all the other times and doing all the other things I need to do to take care of myself, I could go one night without sleep without horrible consequences, right? So number one is taking care of me, taking care of my family. That includes my furry babies as well. So me and my family are right at that top of that list. After that comes my job, my paying customers. So what that means is I focused on taking care of the people who are my paying clients, people who have paid me to help them because I've made a commitment to them. And so my private VIP clients, my students, my coaches that I'm mentoring, those all get that priority. If you haven't paid me, so like this podcast, for instance, that comes after that. And those two things, me and my family and my paying clients, that is it as far as essentials. I don't consider anything else essential. So you may notice I'm recording this episode today, so this will come out in a couple weeks. But after that, you may or may not get an episode from me, depending on how things go over the next few weeks. And if that happens, this is why. It's not essential. Yes, it's super important. Yes, I've made a commitment to give you guys a new episode every other week, and I have done that absolutely as much as I can. But when push comes to shove, this isn't essential. So, with those things pared down to the essentials, taking care of me and my family and taking care of my paying clients, what do I do to make sure I can do all of that? So number one, of course, is sleep, which is ironic because I'm talking to you after a night I didn't have any sleep. But having done that, I figure out okay, when am I going to catch up on that sleep? How do I rearrange my schedule so that I can have sleep? After staying up all night, I went to bed at 8 o'clock on Monday night, and I woke up at 11 a.m. on Tuesday morning. I don't know how many hours of sleep that is. It's more than 12. But I had 2 nights to catch up on, right? So, just do whatever it takes. I try to put myself in a situation where I can sleep for however long I need to sleep. If I need to nap, I'll take a nap. If I need to sleep in, I'll sleep in. If I go to bed early, just listen to my body and whatever it needs. The other things that I do, again, this is all listening to my body. If I feel like I need any extra support from other people, I will schedule it. So in the midst of all of this, while Sam was at the hospital, we left him there overnight. And part of the reason we did that was so I could go home and sleep. The other reason we did that was because I needed to go to the chiropractor. I needed to take care of myself physically, and paying a little bit extra to have him stay with them a few more hours gave me the space to be able to do this. So having said that, shout out to all of you who are caregivers as well as fibromyalgia patients. Oh my Lord. I mean, I don't have kids. I have a cat. But seriously, just the way I felt that night, I was like, my Lord, all of those people out there who are caregivers and who need a break, figure out how to get one. It is absolutely necessary. This is about fibromyalgia. And right now I'm talking about what I did, but there are resources out there. I know when my sister was sick, when she had cancer, my parents and I and my sister all talked about how my parents could get a break as her caregiver. There are resources out there. So make sure you do what you need to do to take care of you, because if you don't take care of you, you can't take care of them. So yes, I made sure I did not skip the chiropractor. I did not skip my massage. I maybe sometimes will even schedule extra. I went to my chiropractor an extra time last week. So a lot of times when everything goes wrong and you're super stressed out, when you think about cutting things out, a lot of you would cut out the chiropractor, but still record a podcast episode. And that's absolutely backwards for what I personally do. Taking care of my body is essential. Going to that chiropractor is essential. Recording this podcast is not. Cleaning the house is not. So don't cut out those things that help you feel good. So again, I went to the chiropractor, I scheduled my massage, still had my massage. I also made sure that I took all of my supplements. One of these days, I'm going to do a podcast episode where I talk about brain chemistry a little bit more, but understanding brain chemistry and understanding the neurotransmitters that control stress and anxiety and depression and help our capacity to deal with stress. I made some adjustments in some of my supplements, taking GABA to help calm me down, taking extra things to support my adrenals because I was under extra stress. So there's a lot of biochemical things that I do to support myself physically. Of course, this includes things like, making sure you drink your water, making sure you eat healthy. I mean, you could guess what goes in, fill in the blank here, right? Make sure you still get your exercise if you're exercising. I made sure to keep doing my walks, at least for the first part. After I didn't get enough sleep, I also did not do my walks, right? Because with fibromyalgia, we have a limited number of energy, right? We've talked about energy being like money. You've got an energy budget. And I had pennies in the bank. So I'm not going to go out there and go for a 20-minute hike when I don't have enough energy to barely function. So I skipped those some days. And instead of going for a walk, I did a meditation, right? So I just kind of want to go through some of the things that I did last night after we brought Sam home, after he had his heart monitor removed. We're at the stage right now where we're waiting to hear back the results of that. Believe it or not, my cat may need a pacemaker. So it's there's just so many things. But when I got home from the vet yesterday, I just want to list out some of the tools that I used because I think it might surprise you guys at how many different things I actually do. Kind of like in episode 70 where I was talking about what supplements I actually take and how it's over 20 of them. I'm actually taking a few more right now. So when I got home, I used some GABA lozenges. GABA is a calming neurotransmitter, and it helps you calm down that over-the-top anxiety that I was feeling. I was feeling like I was going to explode from anxiety and stress and all my emotions. So I actually used some GABA lozenges to help calm that down. I turned on my spa music and I dimmed the lights to try to bring some calmness to my environment, just relaxing in a dimmer room and with the calming music, helping that. I did a 10-minute peace meditation with my Peloton app and did that. I cried. I prayed. Oh gosh, what all else did I do? I used some aromatherapy. I used some of my potions and lotions, some magnesium cream on my shoulders that were starting to feel ultra tense. I went to bed early. I have used chamomile tea. I even have a tea that's called Calm that includes some valerian root, which helps with serotonin. Chamomile, of course, helps with GABA. So all of these different things. I reached out to my counselor. I talked to my coach. So, like, it's a lot. It's a lot. But you got to do whatever you got to do, right? Cuddled with my husband at night, in bed. I like snuck over and had him put his arm around me. All of these things go together to help. Any one thing and wouldn't be enough. No one thing would be enough. So layer on all of those things. You'll remember in the last episode, one of the things I said was that there's no one thing that's going to manage your fibromyalgia. It's going to take a whole lot of little things. Same things when everything goes wrong. When everything goes wrong, keep doing what you're doing. And in fact, just do more of it, right? So all of these things that I mentioned are things that I normally do. I don't necessarily normally do them all within a couple hours of each other, like I did last night. And also remember that it is okay to sometimes not be okay. Life isn't going to be perfect all the time. We're humans, and human things happen to us. People die, pets die, we get in car accidents, things hurt, somebody hurts our feelings, somebody's not there for us like we wanted them to be. Life gets super stressful. You just got to sometimes go through it. Sometimes we can't change what happens to us, but we can change how we respond to that. I know that's a little bit cliche, but we really do have a choice, right? With everything that's happening with Sam, I could choose to just turn into a lump of nothing, right? Which that temptation is there to escape in chocolate and ice cream and murder mystery books. And yes, I have done some of that. It is a strategic use of self-comforting activities, right? But we also can choose to be proactive. We can choose to do things to change the situation. We can choose to talk to someone. Like I talked to several someones. We can do so many things. And so that response, that is our choice. And I also want to say that one of the things that really struck me over the last week is I found myself not being able to respond the way I normally would respond. So normally I am someone who believes that there is a silver lining to everything. As a Christian, I hold on to the verse that says everything works for the good of those who love him, love God. And I hold on to that. Everything works for our good. Everything, not some things, everything. But over the last couple of weeks, I think largely because of the lack of sleep and just the constant stress, I lost sight of that. And logically, I could know it, but emotionally, I wasn't feeling it, which for me is a key indicator that there's some brain chemistry tweaks that need to be made. When you can't respond the way that you would normally respond, there's probably something off where your brain can't work the way it usually does. And that's where having these little biohacks of brain chemistry can be hugely, hugely helpful. This is actually one of the things that I do teach my coaches about a little bit. And I also talked about it on a previous episode where I talk about motivation. And in today's show notes, I will link to that episode. So the same is true that I'm talking about right now about not being able to respond to stresses and pressure the way we normally would. Same thing happens if you just aren't feeling motivated or can't follow through on your goals the way that you want to. Sometimes that has nothing to do with willpower. Sometimes that has everything to do with the chemical soup your brain is sitting in. This is why antidepressants, anti-anxiety meds, thyroid medication, this is why medications can be so important. Because if you've got something biochemical going on, there is no amount of wanting, there is no amount of willpower that is necessarily going to change your brain chemistry. We do know our thoughts affect our chemistry. And so there is a little bit of that, but you know what I mean. There are times when you are depressed or anxious and it's like that's all there is. That is usually biochemistry, and that is something that can be addressed through supplements, through medication. So don't be afraid to use that. So, as I was talking about all those supplements and everything that I was taking, I also took my regular antidepressant, like I'm supposed to. I also took my thyroid meds and everything else. And if you're wondering why I'm mentioning thyroid with that, there actually was a study that showed that Armour thyroid, which is a type of natural thyroid medication, actually worked better on depression than Prozac did. So your thyroid is very tied up in your emotions and mood and things like that as well. Your adrenals are super tied in with how you can handle stress. So this isn't just a, take an antidepressant situation. Your body is all connected. So we've got to look at all of it. Okay, so when everything goes wrong, we go back to what works. We do more of what works. We reach out for help. We talk to those who might be able to guide us into what extra things that we can do, right? So as I'm talking here about biochemistry and neurotransmitters, maybe you don't know what that is, but maybe you can reach out to your doctor, reach out to your coach, someone else who knows, and get the help that you need. And then with all of that, remember that it is okay to not be okay. And sometimes we have to let that show a little bit. And just like I always talk about with self-care, how we take care of ourselves gives other people permission to take care of themselves. Well, sometimes us saying we're not okay, like me saying I'm not okay right now, gives other people permission to be how they really are too. There's people around you, I'm sure, who are not okay, but because there is such a culture of stiff upper lip, boys don't cry, put on your big girl panties and deal with it. Don't be negative, be positive. All of those things can keep us from acknowledging real problems and real things that need to be fixed. It keeps us from reaching out to get the help that we need when we need it. So I'm just going to leave it there for now. I did also want to let you know, we are in a moment right now where we're waiting to hear back on some results for Sam's heart monitor. Once that happens, we'll know more about what happens next. And so in 2 weeks, I'll be honest with you, I don't know if we'll have an episode or not. I don't know if I'll have a cat or not. I don't know if I'll be working like normal or if I will be taking time off because he's had surgery and I'm helping him get better. I don't know. But do know that if I'm not here, if there isn't a podcast, it's because I am cutting back to the essentials and doing what I need to do to take care of myself, my family, and my paying clients first and foremost. And everything else comes after that. If you need help, if you feel like what I'm talking about today could be helpful for you, I would just want to mention 2 things. First of all, of course, we would love to help. Reach out. You can schedule a consultation with one of my coaches. I usually say me or one of my coaches, but you're not going to be able to schedule a consultation with me right now. So if you want to schedule a consultation with one of my coaches, you can go to fibromyalgiapodcast.com. You'll see find a coach in the menu, and you can schedule that way. The second thing I want to mention is that coaches are not counselors. We're not therapists. We are not licensed mental health professionals. We are coaches. So if you find yourself dealing with a lot of grief or past trauma or some of those kinds of things, coaching is not the right answer for you. You probably need to work with a counselor or a therapist. And there are a lot of ways that you can do that. You can reach out to your doctor for a referral. There are some programs where you can actually text with a counselor. Better Health, I think, is one of them, or Better Help, maybe. We'll have a link in the show notes with the correct name. And then there's another one that I'm aware of as well. So I'll link to those. So if you're somebody that would rather text with a counselor, there's a couple of options like that. Of course, you can always get a referral from your doctor or your insurance company and work with an actual counselor. So just to kind of give you a difference between what a counselor could do and what a coach would do. As a coach, we're not making diagnoses. Of course, we're not prescribing anything. We can just educate you. We can help support you. We can give you new ideas, educate you on things to talk with your doctor about. We can talk about some of these things that we do to help manage our own fibromyalgia, anxiety, depression, things like that. But in the end, if you do need a diagnosis, or you do need a prescription, or there's some other underlying reason why you're having trouble managing your emotions, like your thyroid or your adrenals or whatever else, then you do need to talk to a medical professional. As far as counselors, this is where they're going to dig into past traumas. They're going to do a lot more analysis of how your emotions and how you're dealing with things now is related to things in your past, maybe the way you grew up or things you went through. One of the things I'm talking with my counselor about is the fact that my sister passed away a few years ago from cancer, and how that might be affecting my emotions now with everything that's happening with my cat. And sometimes those things aren't logical. I mean, I'll be honest, just now, as I said that, I thought, oh my gosh, that sounds so ridiculous. But emotions are not logical. And so I'm saying this to myself and I'm saying this to you. Don't edit that. Don't discount that. Don't say it can't be related even because it seems stupid or whatever. It is what it is, right? Okay, so I'm going to leave that there for now. And in 2 weeks, hopefully we'll have an episode. If not, I'll leave you guys a little announcement just letting you know that there isn't an episode. So either way, something is going to pop up for you in 2 weeks. And I'm going to leave you with our listener shout out for this week. And I think it's a good one because it's my goal in sharing all of this with you today. She says, and this, by the way, was a private message I got through Instagram, so I'm not going to be sharing her name. But she said, "Thank you for your podcast. Listening to a few episodes made me feel, quote, normal, and gave me hope for the first time in a long time." So hopefully, as you are listening to this episode and me talking about what I do when everything goes wrong and how I am not okay right now, I hope that gives you permission to be normal. This is part of the human experience. And even with my fibromyalgia in remission, it doesn't mean that my life is perfect all of the time. And sometimes we're not okay, and that is okay. All right, everyone, I will see you back here, hopefully in a couple of weeks. And that wraps up another episode of the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I'm your coach, Tami Stacklehouse. For daily doses of hope, inspiration, and practical advice, come hang out with me on Facebook. Visit facebook.com/fibrocoach to find my personal coaching page and connect with me directly. To find the show notes, additional resources, or to schedule a consultation with me or one of my coaches, visit fibromyalgiapodcast.com.